Rafferty. Now back to Huckabee.
This summer, the president's going to be touring the country, trying to sell Obamacare all over again. Well, could it be because polls continue to show that his health care overhaul is unpopular with most Americans? A new Fox News poll shows 55% oppose Obamacare. That's compared to only 40% who are in favor of it. Even members of Congress, including a lot of the Democrats, are contemplating quitting because of the high premiums under the law. One of the problems of Obamacare, though, and it doesn't even tackle a real issue, the outrageous hospital costs we face. Now, let me take a look with you at some examples of what hospitals charge for medicine and supplies compared to what they would cost at your local drugstore or even buying them online. We bought this box of sterile gauze pads for about $7.50 at a nearby drugstore. But some hospitals charge patients $77 for them. This antibiotic retail here for about $6 a tube. Guess what hospitals charge for this same item? $108. You got a headache? Well, I bet you do now after hearing about what the hospital's charging. Well, you can get 100 of these pain reliever pills for $1.50 online. 100 for $1.50. Hospitals mark them up 100 times their street cost. They charge $1.50 per pill. Stephen Brill wrote a very special report for Time magazine called Bitter Pill: Why Medical Bills Are Killing Us. Well, I spoke to him recently about why hospitals charge so much. You spent 7 months trying to figure out why hospital costs were so high. Where did that search take you?
Well, it took me first and foremost to actual bills. I decided I didn't want to write some, policy essay about healthcare. And what I was concerned about was, with all the debate in Obamacare about who should pay for the high cost of healthcare, what kind of insurance should people have, how do we cover this high cost, I was concerned with the first question, which was, why does it cost so much? So I took bills and I looked at every item on the bill, whether it was a charge of $13,000 for a cancer drug or $67 for a box of gauze pads, and I traced who got all that money and how come and who's making out like a bandit. And what I found was we basically have been living in two economies in this country for the last 10 years. There's the economy you and I know, where people are hard pressed, jobs are tight and money's tight. And then there's the healthcare economy, where everybody's doing really well except maybe the nurses and the doctors. But the people who sell the equipment, the people who make the drugs, the people who run the allegedly non-profit hospitals are all making ridiculous amounts of money.
So you mean the doctors who spend 12, sometimes 15 years just preparing to be a doctor are making less money?
Oh, far less. Unless they've gamed the system so that they started a clinic where they can send patients, or they're consulting, for a drug company, they're not making the big bucks. The guys who make the CAT scan equipment, or the pharmaceutical salesmen, the pharmaceutical executives, the hospital administrators at your local nonprofit hospital, without even knowing it, I can tell you that the guy who runs your local hospital in Little Rock makes well over $1.5 million a year. I'll just bet you that without even looking.
Far more than any of the physicians are going to be making, who are actually saving people's lives, who are digging into their brains and their bodies.
Of all the people you'd want to get, the most money for in the system, it's the guy who you're looking up at when you go into the emergency room.
Absolutely.
Or the operating room.
Will Obamacare have an impact on lowering the cost? Does it even address it?
No. No and no. It will not lower the cost. If anything, it will raise the cost. But the reason Obamacare was able to be passed was because all the people who are making all the money are just going to make more money because they're just going to be more patients.
So it's not going to actually help the consumer, nor is it going to help the physician or the nurse.
It's going to help the consumer, who will be forced to have the insurance protection that that many people think they should have. So it will help that consumer. It will help someone who has a pre-existing condition, because they will now be able to buy health insurance. But because they'll be able to buy health insurance, the premiums for everybody else are going to go up, and for people who can't afford it, the government is going to step in and subsidize those premiums. So the costs are going to go up. It does nothing to attack, the $13,000 price for the drug transfusion or the $77 price for the gauze pads. It does nothing to deal with that.
Wow. When we come back, I want to ask you about something called the Charge Master. I find that to be one of the most fascinating things that you uncovered in your study, and can't wait to get to it. We'll be right back with Stephen Brill. Stay with us.